Hello everyone, welcome to Sam's Summaries. This episode is a deep dive discussion into Sam Fury's summary of Chapter 1 from the book Models by Mark Manson. It has been created with the help of AI. The chapter is titled Non-Neediness. You can read the original post at samfury.com.
All right, so today we are going to be diving into the idea of non-neediness. And we're going to be looking at this as it's presented in Chapter 1 of Models.
Yeah, this is a really interesting chapter.
It is.
It kind of turns traditional dating advice on its head.
It does.
Neediness is a major turnoff, especially for women.
Yeah.
And he thinks that cultivating a sense of what he calls non-neediness can significantly boost attractiveness.
So let's start off by kind of defining what this term non-neediness actually is.
Sure.
What does he mean by this?
Yeah, so it's not about being like cold or aloof or unemotional.
Right.
He describes the non-needy man as somebody who is, confident and independent.
Okay.
He takes control of his own destiny.
Yeah.
He's unfazed by competition from other men. He has strong boundaries.
Okay.
And he has high self-esteem.
Okay.
Which is a really important one.
Yeah, it sounds like the idea here is, instead of suppressing your needs, it's about approaching relationships from a place of like self-awareness and strength.
Exactly, yeah.
Women can practically smell neediness.
Right.
Like, is that even a thing?
Yeah, it sounds kind of out there, but
It does.
he suggests that women are really in tune to subtle cues.
Okay.
Even when a man thinks he's hiding his neediness, women can sense it.
So are you saying that women have like a built-in radar for insecurity?
Maybe?
That's pretty wild.
Think about it, though. We're all drawn to people who are secure and confident.
That's true.
So neediness might be a sign of underlying insecurities.
Right.
And maybe women can just pick up on that
Okay.
subconsciously.
So it's like a sixth sense.
Yeah, maybe.
Men only really notice neediness when it's super obvious.
Yeah.
But for women, he argues it can be a deal breaker, even when it's hidden.
Exactly.
So how do we develop this non-neediness without taking it too far and becoming like a narcissist?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a fine line, right?
Yeah.
Being non-needy shouldn't mean that you just ignore the needs of others.
Exactly.
It's all about finding a balance.
Okay.
Taking care of yourself without neglecting your partner.
So it's not about swinging to the other end of the spectrum.
Exactly.
It's about finding that balance.
Yeah, he makes a distinction between the non-needy man and the narcissist.
Okay.
And he says the non-needy man strives to balance his needs with those of others.
Right.
Whereas the narcissist is only concerned with himself.
So finding that healthy middle ground, I really like how he uses this example of going on a date to kind of illustrate this.
Yeah, he has this low investment approach, he calls it.
Okay.
Where he basically says, like, you go on a date, you have a good time.
Right.
But you're completely cool with whatever happens. If she calls you back, great. If she doesn't, that's fine too.
Yeah. And so he's not putting all this pressure on it.
Right.
He's not making her the center of his universe.
Exactly.
It's almost like that whole like playing hard to get thing.
Oh, yeah.
But it's in a more like authentic and genuine way.
Right. It's not about manipulating anyone.
Right.
It's about being comfortable with yourself.
Exactly. And not needing somebody else to complete you.
Yeah.
So, okay, we've talked about what it is, why it's important.
Right.
How do you actually do this? It's not like you just wake up one day and suddenly become this non-needy person.
It's definitely not a quick fix. Yeah.
So,
it's a process of self-discovery.
oh, okay.
And growth.
So it's about like self-awareness, like understanding where your insecurities are coming from.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And how they might be affecting your behavior.
Yeah, it's about peeling back the layers and figuring out, okay, what's at the root of this neediness?
So let's say you've done that. You've identified some of these things.
Right.
What are some practical steps you can take?
Well, I think one of the most powerful things you could do is start to challenge your negative self-talk.
Okay.
We all have that inner critic.
You do.
That's telling us, oh, you're not good enough, you're not smart enough.
Yeah, we all have it.
You're not attractive enough.
Yeah.
But the more you listen to those voices, the more power you give them.
Right.
So start to notice those thoughts and try to replace them with something more positive.
So you're retraining your brain to focus on the good rather than the bad.
Exactly.
Okay. That would.
Another thing you can do is start setting boundaries in your relationships.
Right.
So this means, learning to say no to things that you don't want to do and being assertive about your needs
Okay.
and your desires.
So it's recognizing that you have value
Exactly.
and you don't need to compromise yourself to please other people.
Yeah. And as you start setting boundaries,
Yeah.
you'll naturally feel more confident and less needy.
Okay, that makes sense. But,
Yeah.
let's be realistic.
Sure.
We're always going to have times
Yeah,
when we feel insecure,
of course.
when we feel needy. It's part of being human.
Yeah, absolutely.
So what do you do in those moments?
Well, first of all, it's okay to feel those things.
Mm-hmm.
Don't beat yourself up about it.
Right.
The key is to not let those feelings control you.
Okay.
So notice them, acknowledge them,
Yeah.
and then choose to act in a way that is aligned with your values.
So being mindful,
Mm-hmm.
but not letting it control you.
Yeah, exactly.
I like that.
And remember, this is a journey.
Okay.
It's not a destination.
Right.
There are going to be times when you feel confident and secure.
Yeah.
And there are going to be times when those old insecurities come back up.
Okay.
The important thing is to just keep practicing those healthy habits.
So it's not about being perfect. It's about choosing to act in a way that serves you, even when it's hard.
Exactly.
Okay, I really like that. And I think that's something that's really important for people to remember.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times we get caught up in thinking,
Yeah.
oh, we need to be perfect.
Right.
And we need to never feel these negative emotions.
Yeah.
But that's not realistic.
It's not.
And it's not helpful.
It's not helpful at all.
So this has been a really eye-opening conversation.
There's a lot more to come.
I'm feeling really inspired
Yeah.
to take a closer look at my own beliefs
Yeah.
and patterns.
It's definitely a lot to think about.
It is. So for you listening out there, we encourage you to do the same.
Yeah.
Take a moment, reflect on your own experiences.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe think about, where do you notice neediness kind of creeping in?
Yeah.
What are some steps that you can take to
Mhm.
start shifting that dynamic?
Yeah. How can you apply some of this stuff to your own life?
Yeah, because at the end of the day, this is all about
Mm-hmm.
having fulfilling relationships and
Good.
becoming the best version of yourself.
It's kind of interesting to think about how all of this plays out in a real-life dating scenario. Fury has a great example. He talks about
Yeah.
going on a date with a woman
Mm-hmm.
and having a great time.
Okay.
But instead of getting all hung up on whether she's going to call back,
Right.
he just enjoys the experience for what it is.
So he's not putting all of his eggs in one basket.
Exactly. And that's where the magic happens.
Okay.
Because when you're not desperately seeking validation
Right.
or approval,
Mm-hmm.
you come across as more confident.
So it's kind of like
Yeah,
the less you need, the more attractive you become.
exactly.
It's counterintuitive.
It is. And that kind of inner strength
Yeah.
is magnetic.
Makes sense.
It allows you to be your true self.
Okay, so we've talked about what non-neediness is.
Right.
We talked about why it's important.
Mm-hmm.
But how do you cultivate it?
Well,
How do you actually do it?
It's not something that happens overnight.
Right.
It's a process
Okay.
of self-discovery and growth.
So it's a lot about self-awareness
Yeah.
and
Absolutely.
figuring out where your insecurities are coming from.
Yeah, you've got to kind of peel back the layers
Yeah.
and figure out what's at the root of it.
Okay, so let's say you've done that.
Yeah.
You've identified some of these things.
Right.
What are some steps you can take?
Well, one of the most powerful things
Yeah.
is challenging your negative self-talk.
Oh, I like that.
We all have those thoughts.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not good enough.
We all have that inner critic.
I'm not smart enough. I'm not attractive enough.
Yeah.
But the more you listen to those voices,
Yeah,
the more power you give them.
that's true.
So notice those thoughts and try to replace them with something positive.
So it's about retraining your brain
Yeah,
to focus on the positive.
exactly.
Okay, well,
And another important step is to start setting boundaries in your relationships.
setting boundaries.
Yeah, learning to say no to things you don't want to do.
Okay.
Being assertive
Hmm.
about your needs and desires.
It's about recognizing that you have value
Yeah,
and you don't have to compromise yourself
right.
to please other people.
And as you start doing that,
Mm-hmm.
you'll naturally start feel more confident
Okay, that makes sense.
and less needy.
But let's be realistic here. We're always going to have times
Yeah, of course.
where we feel insecure or needy.
Absolutely.
It's part of being human.
It's part of the human experience.
So what do we do in those moments?
Well, first of all, it's okay to feel those things.
Okay.
Don't beat yourself up about it.
Yeah.
Just notice them,
Mm-hmm.
acknowledge them,
Yeah.
and then choose to act
Okay.
in a way that is in line with your values.
So being mindful,
Hmm.
but not letting it dictate
Right.
your behavior.
Yeah.
Okay.
And remember, this is a journey.
Yeah,
not a destination.
I like that.
You know, there'll be times when you feel confident and secure,
Right.
and there will be times when those old insecurities resurface.
Okay.
The important thing is to just keep practicing.
Okay, so it's not about being perfect.
Yeah.
It's
about progress, not perfection.
choosing to act in a way that serves you,
Exactly.
even when it's hard.
Yeah. I think that's so important to remember
It is.
because I think a lot of us get caught up
Yeah.
in striving for this idea of perfection.
Right.
Like we have to never feel insecure.
Yeah, we think we have to be perfect all the time.
But it's just not realistic.
Yeah, and it sets you up for failure.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
It's much more helpful to focus on progress, on growth,
I love that.
and on just continuing to learn and evolve.
So it's about moving in the right direction.
Exactly.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground here talking about this idea of non-neediness.
Yeah, we have.
But before we wrap things up, there's one more point I want to touch on.
Okay.
This isn't about manipulating people
No, definitely not.
or playing games.
It's not about becoming some kind of like
Right.
emotionally unavailable
Yeah, like a robot.
robot. Yeah.
This is about
Yeah.
real self-transformation.
Yeah, it's about becoming the best version of yourself.
So as we're wrapping up here, what's the one thing you want people to take away from all of this?
I think the most important thing to remember is that
Mm-hmm.
cultivating non-neediness,
Yeah.
it's not about becoming emotionally detached.
Okay.
It's about
Yeah.
fostering self-worth
Self-love.
and self-love.
Yeah, and recognizing that
Yeah.
you're already...
Oh, you're already complete.
You don't need somebody else to fill that void.
Exactly.
And it's not about playing
Yeah.
games. It's
Yeah.
about
Yeah.
self-improvement.
Yeah, genuine self-improvement.
So how can people listening start to put this into practice?
Well, I think a good place to start
Yeah.
is to think about
Okay.
what are some small steps that you can take
Yeah.
to embody
Okay.
these traits.
So, like, what are some actionable things?
Yeah, like how can you cultivate that deeper sense of self-love?
How can you become more self-aware?
Yeah, how can you start to challenge those negative thought patterns?
Okay, so as you're thinking about these things, remember that
Yeah.
this is a journey.
It is.
It's not a destination.
You're not going to achieve this overnight.
It's not about being perfect.
No,
It's about being better.
it's about growth.
So we've only just scratched the surface here.
There's so much more in the book.
This was just chapter 1.
Yeah, just the tip of the iceberg.
There's a lot more to unpack. If you're interested in learning more,
Yeah,
definitely check out the book, Models.
definitely. It's a great book.
It is a great book.
Lots of insights.
Lots of insight.
Lots of practical advice.
So that's it for our deep dive
Okay,
into the idea of non-neediness.
sounds good. We hope you enjoyed it.
I hope so.
We'll see you next time.
All right, see you then.
Thanks for tuning in to Sam's Summaries. If you found this episode useful, let us know with a like, follow, and share. Also, if you haven't already, be sure to visit samfury.com to get free access to all of Sam's original summaries, which you can download as PDFs, as well as other exclusive content. It's all completely free at samfury.com.